What's up, everybody? Back again, it's Sports Counterpoints podcast, September 14th, 2022. I'm GB, Coop, Brian. What's happening?
Going on?
What's going on? B,
Yeah,
thank you for hosting again. I appreciate it. We both
Yeah, it was
appreciate it.
fun.
yeah, man. Always a good time watching the first weekend with family, hanging out. Speaking of, so let's kind of today we're gonna do some football recapping, talk about the last week, a couple games we might be interested in this week. Just speaking to the NFL a little bit as we're all huge NFL fans. So we're gonna go down the line with our teams, talk about some of the other top teams and how they fared, and then we'll maybe a couple quick hitters on other games we were interested in from the past weekend and anything we're looking forward to this week. So let's just go down the line. Let's start. We'll go around the loop. So we'll start with
Man,
you, Coop. Niners,
yeah,
Bears, man.
man.
What you thought?
It was bad. A bad showing on offense and defense. Trey Lance had some accuracy issues. The Bears, I don't think the Bears played well. I don't even think Justin Fields played well, but the back end of the defense got beat a couple times and he took advantage of it. On all three touchdown drives in the second half, the Bears had were all aided by 15-yard penalties by the 49ers. So it was just bad offensively and defensively. I'm not going to use the rain as an excuse because the Bears have to play in the rain as well. But hopefully they clean it up because if they don't win against Seattle, I think Jimmy's coming in against Denver in week 3. But that's all
Dang.
I got. What about you, B?
Yeah, I mean, this game had an average QBR of 42.7. So that's a pretty good bad start, to the season.
Pretty good
Um,
bad
you know,
start.
yeah. Trey Lance, he looked like somebody playing in their first start in a long time. But the reality of it is that the weather played a big difference, had a big impact on the results here. The 49ers obviously were not ready for the combination of Trey Lance having to play in bad weather, trying to play in a horrible field, Eli Mitchell getting hurt, and then just a bunch of other things. The Chicago Bears, like you said, Jason, did not play particularly well. Justin Fields only threw for 121 and 2 touchdowns and an interception, and a 42.1 QBR. So it really wasn't all that impressive. I do not get the impression that some people have. If you look at some places like ESPN and some others, they're going, oh, Chicago Bears might be a real team this year.
Mm-mm.
That was not what I got from
Yeah,
week one.
no.
I think that they survived in a really bad situation and ultimately made the best of a really bad situation, and that equaled the win.
Yeah.
Congratulations to them. Can you do it again next week?
Yep. Last point of that game, the lowest rated player according to PFF, Debo Samuel. He was the worst player in that game offensively for the 49ers. On a
I
per
don't know that
because
that's fair.
they do a per play basis. So he must have missed the blocks. He must have didn't write the right route.
Got
You
it.
know, he
I
had a
know.
fumble. He
Yeah,
got
but
down
he scored.
touchdown. Yeah, he scored
Looked
later,
good
but
doing it.
they do a per play basis. So if they know what you're supposed to do per play, and if you're not doing it, but he was the lowest rated player. That was shocking. Yep.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Then you got. So I said go this way. So Raiders, Chargers. I thought it just looked like a game where my team, the Raiders, still need to figure out the offense. It looked like Derek Carr was pressing, trying to force the ball in spots that he won't do throughout the season. It's typically not how he plays, but new offense, new terminology. Got his homeboy out there on the left side, so he was feeding him the ball. Devontae looks like Devontae Adams. I don't know that he's gonna get 10 catches a week, but he looks as good as advertised. So we're just gonna see what happens. But I thought the Chargers, to me, I mean, I know it's gonna sound like hate, and that's fine, but they weren't overly impressive. I think they still have gears that they can level up to. Not to take anything away because they won the game, but I mean, Raiders defense was all over them. We had a chance to win the game still at the end after throwing 3 interceptions. Didn't look as dominant as it could have. So we'll see how they do going forward, but they got the win, and we'll see what happens. So what y'all think?
I'll go real quick, B. So this is a Khalil Mack game right here. Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack combined had 16 quarterback pressures on Derek Carr. So the offensive line couldn't block either one of them. And I think
Yeah,
that was one of
that's
the
gonna be
issues
an
I
issue
had
all season
off
until they
offensive
figure it
line.
out.
And Derek Carr dropped back 37 times. You could say about maybe 8 of those were screen passes, were quick at. So about half the time Derek Carr dropped back, he was pressured. So, it's just I think it's more of an offensive line issue for the Raiders. You give Derek Carr time, he's going to make throws. I'm with you. The Chargers don't look like world beaters. I think Keenan Allen got hurt and
Yeah,
something
that
else
sucks.
happened, but whatever. I wouldn't. If you're a Raider fan, I mean, don't get too discouraged about that game. What about you, B?
I have a little bit of a different view on this. I mean, the Raiders actually look pretty bad to me. 22 for 37, 295 seems like great stats. When you look at a QBR of 26.9 because of the 3 interceptions, that's something they're going to have to work on. Devontae Adams obviously had great numbers in the overall, but he was it. And I think we talked about this during the game. Derek Carr looked like he was pressing a whole lot. Glenn, you kind of wrote it off a little bit as hey, I get this happens when you have new toys that are so outstanding and you start trying to look to them a little bit. But and I think they can correct that over the course of the season. But that talking about just this game, there was a problem there, and it was that they were constantly trying to get it to Derek Carr. I don't
You,
think
you mean
that
Devontae Adams? Devontae
Yeah.
Adams.
Go ahead, Devontae Adams. Excuse me.
Mhm.
I don't think that the Chargers looked that bad. I mean, Herbert threw for 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. Had a pretty solid a rating overall. They spreaded the ball around as well as they could, and Keenan Allen had a solid game brewing until he got hurt. He was 4 for 4 on his 4 targets and 66 yards. And they look like they have things to build off of. You all don't want to hear me say it for the thousandth time, but you could tell that the Chargers didn't really get warmed up before the season started. I do think that when Keenan Allen gets healthy, they'll probably look like a much better team. If there were if you're looking at both teams and trying to project where they're going to go, I can see how we all seem to have gotten, except for maybe Glenn, but how we all got to the fact that the Chargers look like a team that can probably do some things this year.
And to your point, Brian, Derek Carr's not a bad quarterback, but you can just tell watching that game that Herbert is damn near a superstar. I mean, it was like a difference between quarterbacking in that game. Derek Carr's not bad, but it's just a Herbert.
He's
just
not.
seems like, just better. That's all.
Yeah, I think continuity plays a good role in that. Being with the same coaching staff, same offense, adding in a key defensive player in Khalil. I don't think they're bad, but I just think that they also not playing in the preseason probably was detrimental to them also, because they didn't look like. I'm just thinking. Hey, I'm strictly looking at Madden. Once I got the new Madden, I had Devontae. I can't tell you how many interceptions I've thrown trying to force the ball in for no reason. But at the same time, typically, if I throw 3 picks, I'm getting beat 21-0 or, at least double digits. So there's still some stuff that both teams could clean up. I don't think, I think there's, obviously tons of potential to reach for both teams. So no hate.
The one thing that I'll add is I think the Raiders need to find a way to use Josh Jacobs more. 5.7 yards per carry for 57 yards on 10 carries is worth giving more carries to. And I think that there's a little bit of a hyper focus on Devontae Adams right now. But if they balance that offense out a little bit, I think that they could actually play well in some more important games.
I think we'll be all right. Game 1, right? This is preseason. Practice. They're still figuring it out.
About what?
So going to your team, Vikings, man. Y'all,
yes,
you only one of the
Vikings.
3 of us who won, and I've never seen a more nervous winner in my life.
Man.
Yeah, absolutely. I told you all that I really did not expect a lot of great things in this game. They did not practice in the preseason. They did not play games in the preseason. They cut the quarterbacks who had actually had experience in the preseason. They lost all of their preseason games. So look, there was a lot of reasons why I was not super excited about it. One thing that I forgot in talking about all that is that the Green Bay Packers have a history of just not doing well in the first game. That's the nice way of saying that. And Aaron Rodgers had a QBR of 16.1. He only threw for 195
for the
yards
game.
Yes.
Damn.
Only threw for 195 yards with 22 completions on 34 attempts. He had no touchdowns, 1 interception, and 4 sacks for 33 yards. It was not good. And yet, no matter take all that into account, late in the third quarter, I was just waiting for Aaron Rodgers to wake up and become Aaron Rodgers. and actually do something that was worth Aaron Rodgers' name. On the other side, you had Kirk Cousins, who had 2 touchdowns for 277 yards. That's not
MVP.
outstanding, but that's really good given the circumstances. No interceptions, 80.7 QBR, which is exactly where you want your quarterback who's managing the game. I thought Dalvin Cook looked really solid for 20 carries and 90 yards for 4.5 yards a carry. He didn't get any touchdowns, but that was just because we could not score close. All of our scores, if you looked at the game, came from 30, 40 yards out. When we got a little bit closer, we got a little bit, I don't know if it's conservative is the word, or we just
That's on
hadn't quite
offense, man.
figured out how to play in that tighter defense. You know, when the safeties are closer and the DBs are a little bit closer because you're in the red zone, it gets a little bit thicker. And we just didn't perform quite that well. I think that has something to do with playing more in the preseason. So hopefully they'll play a little bit better. Look, Justin Jefferson looked like a man amongst boys. 9 receptions for 184 yards, 20 yards average, 2 touchdowns. He looked really, really damn good. There were plenty of times where he just took complete advantage of a zone. I think there's a lot of teams right now who are thinking that they might have run zone against the Minnesota Vikings, who are rethinking that and thinking that they're going to have to play, maybe a zone with a man on Justin Jefferson so that he has no less than 2 people on him at all times. Because it wasn't, there was a couple of plays where he simply just outplayed the defender, but a lot of that 84 yards was due to him beating a zone and getting wide open in space. It was fun to watch. And I think that they're going to be able to take advantage of that a lot over the season because I think Justin Jefferson's just that good. So in the short, look, I'm really, really happy that we won a very important game. When you open the season against the division favorites
at
home, that's a game you have to win because these Vikings and the Green Bay Packers almost always split. Yep. And this was one of those games that you couldn't give up and give away. So I'm really happy that they were able to find a way to pull this off. I don't necessarily think the Vikings proved that they're going to win the division, but I also don't think that the Packers proved that they're going to be this bad consistently. But I do think that the Vikings gave themselves a chance to compete later in the season.
Definitely.
Yeah, I love this game. I loved it from the very beginning because this game proved everything I said about both teams. I said Green Bay, people could say all they want about Aaron Rodgers. It's known he has trust issues, and people seem to think he got 2 rookie receivers. He's just going to feed them 100 targets this season. They're out of their mind. Okay, they must not watch Aaron Rodgers play.
And he dropped that first pass too.
Right, he dropped the first pass, and when was the next time he touched the ball again? In the fourth quarter, because Aaron wasn't throwing it to him. And when he gave it to him in the fourth quarter, it was on one of them RPO run plays where he had to give him the ball because the coach called a play for him. Aaron Rodgers not fooling with them receivers like that, and they're rookies. They're playing in Minnesota. They used to play in front of 25,000 people in college. Now they're playing in front of 80,000 in Minnesota. That's a loud stadium. And you're asking them those rookies to perform. It's not going to happen. They're going to have moments like this all season. I'm not sure if Aaron Rodgers is going to have patience with them like that. And we all saw Aaron. Yeah, we saw Aaron Rodgers' face on the sideline. I mean, people think it's going to work. I don't. That's one of the reasons I have Minnesota winning this division. They ran 3 wide receiver sets. They have the best offensive talent in the division. When Green Bay has Sammy Watkins and Alan Lazard and 2 rookies, and Minnesota has Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and KJ Osborne, Dalvin Cook, I'm taking that all day. And they got Zadarius Smith, who had a big game too.
And the Packers didn't have Lazard this week, so I mean that was a big hit.
Oh yeah, they didn't have Lazard. I don't fool with Allen.
Mattered,
I don't fool with Dukes or Lazard anyway. So yeah, it wouldn't have mattered. It really wouldn't. Minnesota's just a better team, which is why I have them winning the division. I don't have Green Bay, winning double digit wins this season. I don't see it with those playmakers. Aaron Rodgers is good, but how's he going to elevate those rookies from Middle Tennessee, Chattanooga State, or wherever one of them went to? I don't see it, but some people do, I guess.
Great. I just thought it was interesting how Brian was the whole time, man. That's how I usually am watching games, but we don't have a lead usually. But he's got a lead the whole time.
I mean,
we kept saying how good
the whole game had a lead,
and
whole game,
and never felt like the game was over.
Never comfortable. It was
The
man.
Vikings could have won 33-7 if they wanted to, just like
They
KC could have put up
easily.
60 easily. So yeah,
Sure.
Vikings is just a better team. People are going to realize that this season.
Brian might have felt better if they did, because this man was the whole
Yeah, I
time
mean, it would've-
quiet. He said nothing till the game was over.
Well, look, I mean, the second half, when what would have made me feel a little bit more comfortable is a touchdown, right? They looked good. They got 17-0, and they could not score a touchdown. 2 field goals in the second half, whereas the Green Bay Packers scored a touchdown in the second half. They weren't able to put their foot on their throats, but they did enough to win the game.
Definitely.
All good.
Definitely. Okay. So kind of kicking it to some of the other, I just figured we talk about some of the teams who people are kind of touting as some of the better teams, or who they're expecting to kind of be those guys at the end of the season. Let's start with the Bucs, who played the Cowboys. Man, that was tough. They had injuries. They had, I don't even know what to say,
Don't make
man.
no excuse for the Cowboys. I had them going 7-10, no matter who the hell was on the damn field. And then all these Cowboy fans and media try to convince you about what's his name, CD Lamb. He's supposed to be a star. It's the same guy who had 1 catch for 10 yards against the 49ers last year in the playoffs. And how many catches do you have this game? Like 2? Like 2
2 for
catches
29,
yeah, for 29. I'm about to say 23. Yeah. So I mean, I don't understand the hype on him, but I mean, with or without Dak, the Cowboys just aren't a good team. Tampa Bay didn't play particularly well. They only scored 19 points, but like old boy said, Dallas had a whole offseason and scored 3 points like Draymond Green the entire game. That's a damn shame. But that's all I got to say about the game. What about you, B?
I mean, look, I agree with you wholeheartedly on the Dallas Cowboys. They can talk all they want about the fact that Dak got hurt, but he got hurt late in the game. He only had a 15.3 QBR to Cooper Rush's 11.7. So there wasn't a huge fall off from one quarterback to the next. They definitely looked like a team that was discombobulated and not knowing what they were doing. I think that they really need to figure out what they're doing at running back. Ezekiel Elliott ran for 10 for 52. That seems good, but they obviously weren't convinced. But Tony Pollard only ran for 6 for 8. That's awful. And then you mentioned that the wide receiver situation is not ironed out. On the Tampa Bay side, they didn't play great football. They played good preseason football, right? I mean, Brady threw 18 for 27 for 212 yards. That's the kind of game that he used to have in New England when they would establish the running game early. They'd go throughout the season late in his career or late in his career in Boston, in New England. They would establish the run, they would pound the run, and they would use him on third downs and touchdowns. And that's exactly what happened here. They didn't score a ton, but Leonard Fournette, 21 carries, 127 yards, 6 yards per carry. That's strong work. That is the kind of thing that Tom Brady can really use to make this team a strong contender. I don't know that they looked like a juggernaut. They're not. It didn't look like the team that's going to beat everyone, but they look like a team that is going to be very, very hard to beat because they know how to figure out how to win this game in every game. And I actually really enjoyed watching Julio Jones go three receptions for 69 yards, while Chris Godwin was only 3 for 35 yards, and Mike Evans was only 5 for 71 yards. I predicted, we talked about it last week. I think Julio Jones is going to be revived, having a veteran quarterback like Tom Brady, and this was the first step in that direction. This wasn't a huge game. This isn't a game that people are going to talk about for a really long time, but this is the kind of game that you can build off of and win continuous games and win divisions in. I wouldn't go as far as championships.
He had some key catches, man. And
we'll see what happened to Julio, because that last catch, remember, he got up walking like Fred Sanford. So
he landed. I looked at that catch. It looked like he landed on his shoulder awkwardly, wasn't so legs or whatever. But anyways, it was just good to see him, making plays and being part of it. He also had the second most rushing yards, 2 for 17.
Well, definitely not. I thought actually it was cool to see him make some catches, man, and cool to see, regardless of, to see Tom Brady throw the ball to Julio Jones.
Yeah, I think cool. Godwin's out next week too. I think he got hurt. I think they already ruled him out.
Yeah, he's on my fantasy team, so I should just kind of show people the rosters. If they're on my team, apparently they getting got, because it was a terrible week. All right, so who did look good was the Buffalo Bills. They look like they are solid. They beat the Rams handedly. What y'all think about that game? That was 31-10 on Thursday.
Go ahead, B.
I mean, look, I don't think everyone who was playing fantasy football had Josh Allen at the top of their list. And even though Josh Allen threw 2 interceptions, he still looked damn good. 297 yards, 3 touchdowns, 9.6 yards on the average attempt. And he looked solid. Obviously, having a guy he led the team in rushing yards. And so having someone who can rush like that, 10 carries for 56 yards is a big deal. He also got a touchdown there. So he had 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the game. Played a dynamic football game. And what I mean by dynamic football game is that at any point in time, I don't think the Los Angeles Rams were able to devise an idea of what he was going to do next. Right? I mean, he led the team in rushing. He obviously was the leading passer, threw for basically 300 yards, and then had a good connection with Stephon Diggs. They absolutely toasted that boy at DB. It was really like humbling and just to see what was going on there. Jalen Ramsey looked just lost. I don't know if someone can lose it that quickly. I imagine Jalen Ramsey's going to rebound and play a little bit better in the season, but he got cooked.
It's almost like they needed some like practice games or something like where you could kind of get used to like game speed.
Getting used to game speed.
Something like that.
There's no preseason game that gets you ready for someone as good as Stephon Diggs, but he needed something because
I think Davis was giving it to him too a couple times as well. I think Davis burnt him for a couple touchdowns. Yeah.
I mean, Gabe Davis was 4 for 88 with 22-yard average and 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
But and both of those guys are kind of burners. They both utilize the double move a lot. And Jalen Ramsey looked lost every time a double move came. He bought hook, line, and sinker for that first move. But anyways, look, the Buffalo Bills looked like the team we thought they were, which is I picked them to be in the Super Bowl. I picked them to be the most talented team in football. And so they looked like that going against the world champions.
Yeah, I saw it the same, but a little different. I looked at the Buffalo Bills defense and the Rams offensive line. They're obviously missing Andre Whitworth. I think, didn't he get sacked like 5, 6, 7 times this game? They kept busting through the line a lot. I saw what Buffalo, especially Von Miller was yeah. I mean, Von Miller was just coming through there. I just the Rams, like I said, I mean, they got line
7
issues.
sacks.
7. Yeah, I was concerned about their line. Just concerned about their schedule. I'm just concerned about a lot with the Rams. I just don't think they're going to be as good as everybody thinks they are. And Buffalo beating them like that didn't really surprise me. I mean, the Rams are Super Bowl champions. Buffalo wants to get to that point, and they look at this as a statement game. And plus, they were favored on the road against the Super Bowl champions, which I don't think ever happens. I don't see how a team is favored against the defending Super Bowl champions at home. I don't remember that happening, but Buffalo was. And so obviously somebody knows something that this team is better, or at least at this point of the season is better. So I see the Rams not losing to Atlanta, but it wouldn't surprise me if Atlanta just kept it close. Not sure when the Rams are going to find their groove, but it's obviously not right now. Like Brian said, none of those guys played in the preseason. Maybe they might need 2 or 3 games to sort of, wake up their offense and defense or whatever, but we'll see.
Yeah, they're going to blow the doors off of the Falcons, but I don't think that means that they're back.
Right.
Falcons are going to be one of the worst teams in football.
Right.
And the Buffalo Bills are probably the best team in football right now.
Yeah. Well,
the Rams play the Falcons.
Rams, yeah.
Okay, I was about to say because the Bills playing. Woo.
Oh,
Take the overs.
Yeah,
right.
No, I think the Rams are going to blow the doors off the Falcons.
Well, one more thing I said about Buffalo. Buffalo doesn't win close games. Last year they won none. They just blow people out. So and it was another blowout.
Exactly. I wish that was my team.
Right.
Wish that was my team. All right. And then so the other one of the other teams everybody's kind of picking as one of the top guys is the Chiefs, man. And they did blow the doors off the Cardinals. What y'all think about that game? Was it more about the Chiefs being nice or Cardinals being bad or a little bit of both?
I'm gonna be real. Kansas City, they got a chip on their shoulder. Like Mahomes said in his interview, everybody said I can't do this or we can't do that. Yeah. I'm just a guy who can't just out of Texas Tech. I mean, he has a chip. He has that Tom Brady chip on his shoulder where internally they're really competitive. They won't say too much on the outside, but he did his thing. 5 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah, he made it look easy too.
Yeah,
spread it around.
Right. And Arizona, like I said before, I don't see why people are so hyping them up so much. I mean, yeah, Kyler got his money, but that team didn't look I predict them not to be so good this year, and they don't look good. They got issues.
Arizona
so.
iced tea is worth more.
B, what you think about that game?
Yeah, I think there's some things to be really interested in. I mean, the first thing was Isaiah Pacheco got way more carries than Clyde Edwards-Helaire,
Look
12
good
to
too.
5, 12 to 7, 62 to 42. Pacheco got the touchdown. Obviously, Mahomes was going to do exactly what we thought what he did here, which is he was trying to score every touchdown himself. 5 touchdowns, 360 yards. He spread the ball around. I mean, if you look at the number of catches for each at each level, Kels obviously got the most for 8 for 121. Juju got the next with 6 and 79. And then there's a kind of a smorgasbord of Marcus Valdez-Scantling, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Sky Moore, even Jordy Fortson, his 1 for 1 for a touchdown. So I think Kansas City has settled into the idea that they don't have that one guy, and they looked like they had a plan on how to deal with their departure of their big top wide receiver. Whereas Green Bay, going back to Green Bay, did not. They kind of said, "Oh, we're going to figure it out. We'll spread it around." Patrick Mahomes did something that Aaron Rodgers couldn't. He found the open person, made the plays, and looked damn good doing it. Now, it's important to remember Arizona Cardinals scored 21 points, which means the Kansas City Chiefs defense needs some work. Sure, it's easy to lose that when the Kansas City Chiefs score 44 points,
Definitely.
but 21 points. And Jason said it, they didn't look great. Kyler Murray only threw for 193 yards with his 2 touchdowns. For rushing, James Conner only had 10 rushes for 26 yards. Benjamin had 4 rushes for 28 yards, and Kyler Murray led all the rushers with 5 rushes for 29 yards.
Yikes.
They've got some things that they need to figure out on offense. I think better defenses are going to really, really be able to shut this team down, and they've got to figure some stuff out. I'm with you, Jason. I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to be very, very disappointing throughout the season if they continue to play like this.
They need DeAndre, man. Yeah. You can't lose a player like DeAndre Hopkins and think
I don't think he would have helped
yards.
this game, but yeah, true. I don't think he would have helped this game, but yeah, you're right on that.
It might have been 28 at least. Yeah. DeAndre's something else, man. Like seriously. And Kyler Murray looks for him like on some. He out there somewhere and just air it out, and DeAndre comes down with it. Like he's.
But the question will be: is Hopkins the same when he comes back?
Yeah,
that's tough, right? It's been a minute.
That stuff, yeah. Real quick, my last point on this game. I don't know if you guys heard Cliff Kingsbury's interview, but they were going back and forth to ownership and Kyler Murray's agent in the offseason, and they put all them clauses in this contract about practice. And then Cliff Kingsbury says, "Hey, what happened?" He says, "Oh, we need better practice habits," which is a direct shot at video game playing Kyler Murray. So I thought that was kind of funny how he just gave him a little shot in the gut by saying that. So
that's who he wanted, bro. He had a quarterback and made sure he got him first pick back-to-back years. So
right. We'll see.
Got to win the game, bro. You play to win the game. All right. So this week, any games y'all are looking at that you're? Well, let me give you a chance before we pass. Any games from last week that you guys wanted to touch on, or you?
Let me touch on this one. This Seattle and Denver game. I don't know about y'all, but I was shocked that Seattle beat Denver. I didn't see that. I'm sorry, I didn't see that one coming. But I did notice that Denver torpedoed in the fourth quarter. They imploded, and
new team, new offense,
new quarterback. I don't think it's that, Glenn. I think it's the coach, because that's the same coach who coached in Green Bay, who imploded last year in the fourth quarter against San Francisco and imploded the year before against Tampa Bay in the playoffs. I think it's the coach. I don't think it's Russell Wilson. I've seen Russell Wilson in that position for years, and he's always come through. I thought they were going for it on 4th and 5. I didn't think they was going to send the kicker out. They sent the kicker out, and I was like, "Oh, this game is over. He's gonna miss that." Yeah, this is. But I just thought they were gonna go 4th and 5. He hasn't made it, Glenn. He hasn't made a kick that long past 55 yards outside of Denver in years.
Bro, it's rare. I was gonna say it's rare for anybody to do it.
And it was
a record. So
it was. He tried him out there. It was bad. So I just thought that was bad clock management by the coach. I don't blame it on Russell Wilson at all.
You got to figure it out.
What about you, Brian?
On this game, I agree with the sentiment that the Broncos are the reason that they lost, and it had everything to do with the coach. But I think this game was lost way earlier. I don't think the decision to kick on the 4th and 5 for a 63-yarder, because McManus has a ton of a leg, But when you pay, what is it, $256 million or some
Mm-hmm.
crazy number like that for Russell Wilson, and you have the ball on the 1 yard line, and twice you decide that you're going to run, and twice you get a fumble, that's on the coach making a poor decision. The reason why you spend that kind of money on a quarterback is that so on 4th and 1, especially in a goal line situation, you can give the ball to the quarterback and give him multiple options. His ability to rush, which Wilson can get a yard, his ability to find the open guy if they run 3 or 4 wide receivers out. And they didn't do that not once, but twice.
Yep.
So, I think a lot of people are focusing on what happened at the very end of the game. And I think where Nathaniel Hackett messed up was way earlier in the game. Even if they decided to go for field goals in those two situations, they're winning that game handily.
That was 9 points.
I have respect for going for it. I have no respect for going for it by not utilizing your star player. And let's be honest, Melvin Gordon, who played a solid game, and Javonte Williams, who played an okay game, they weren't getting carries. So, I don't understand why they were the superstars in Nathaniel Hackett's mind. That game was lost way earlier on those 2 4-and-1s. At least one of them, if not both of them, the ball should have been in Russell Wilson's hand.
Yeah, you may have not liked it, Coop, but I love the outcome.
Oh, no. I mean, no, I'm good with it because they won't win too much this year. But yeah, I mean, Brian's right. When you play a quarterback that kind of money, you put the ball in the quarterback's hands. That's why you're paying. You don't pay him that kind of money for second quarter stuff. You pay Trey Lance that kind of money for second quarter stuff. You pay Russell Wilson that money for fourth quarter stuff. And yeah, they didn't do it. You're right. Correct.
Didn't do it. Any game you were really interested in, B?
Yeah, let me talk a little bit about the Steelers versus the Bengals, because I mean it was an important game in that the Bengals were they went to the defending AFC championship champions. They went to the Super Bowl, and then they lost to the Steelers. It's really hard to understand this game. I would have expected that the team would have played better. I of course can go back to my old standby, which is, look, they didn't play a lot. Joe Burrow had to get an appendicitis. They looked discombobulated. Joe Mixon looked solid, 27 yards. 27 carries for 82 yards. Jamar Chase looked solid, 10 receptions for 129 yards.
Should have been one touchdown out of there.
Together as a team, and the Pittsburgh Steelers took advantage of it. I mean, they saw that a team was not on playing their A game, and they found a way to win that game. More power to them. Tomlin is great at winning these disgusting, kind of not really wonderful football game watching games, and he did it again. This was an important game. I mean, beating a division rival at home, as I was talking about with the Vikings in Green Bay, is huge in the overall scheme of things, because the next time that they play, the Bengals need to go in and win at Pittsburgh. That's not easy. And if the Pittsburgh Steelers go 2-0 and even play somewhat well against the rest of the division, which is a mixed bag right now.
Yeah.
The Steelers have proven that while they're not champions or world beaters, they're nothing to be ignored.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, they had 5 turnover, +5, and they barely won off of 3 points in that field goal in overtime. That's just crazy. It reminded me of it was a game Mike Singletary was coaching the 49ers. We played the Bears at home, and we got 4 interceptions from Jay Cutler, and we still needed a last-second field goal to beat the Bears. That's how you know you're a bad team, when you have all the ball that much.
Hey, winning ugly is winning.
It's winning, but the problem is, I understand that, and a lot of people say that, but it's not sustainable. So we'll see what happens next week. But I mean, look, the Steelers spent all their money on defense, so they should have won, because they spent no money on offense, the least amount in the league. So at least they got their money worth on defense.
Najee Harris to an injury, and that's a pretty big loss.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Especially
also on my fantasy team.
Yeah, especially for a team that is really lacking in offense. I mean, with Mitch Trubisky as your quarterback, you need to have a running back at least, and now he's hurt. So
hey, Mitch was terrible. They both teams had a million chances to win too.
Yeah.
So
yep.
The Bengals definitely had their shots. All right. Yeah. So this week, we know who our teams are playing. You guys Niners are playing the Seahawks.
Pick our games and maybe pick a couple of others.
All right, Niners Seahawks.
Look, it's just a game the 49ers have to win, or else all hell's going to break loose. That's all. It's not much to say about Seattle. The 49ers, if anybody needs a bounce back, it's Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance. They need a bounce in that defense. Everybody needs a bounce back on this team. So I'm sure they'll be focused in practice. Seahawks are a rival, whether Russell Wilson is there or not. So it's an interesting game only because of the drama at the quarterback position. That's it. So that's all I have to say about that game. B.
So look, the line is San Francisco minus 8.5. I think that's a little bit too big given the way that the 49ers played last
Oh
week.
yeah.
But the situation is this. I think the Seahawks gamed up because they were playing their old quarterback. And so I fully expect the 49ers to go out there and handle their business. I don't think this is going to be a blowout, which a 8.5 point spread tells me it might be. But I do think that the 49ers will find a way to win this. Um, the 49ers have a lot to deal with. So they have Trey Young, who is a relatively new quarterback. Trey Lance, excuse me, is a relatively new quarterback, trying to find his place in the league. They just lost Eli Mitchell. They just signed Mack to
Marlon Mack.
Marlon Mack, yeah, to the practice squad. I mean, they're hurting. They're hurting. This is not a juggernaut of a team, but I do think that they'll ultimately be able to beat the beat the Seahawks by a couple of points. Jason?
Yeah, Trey Lance only threw 99 passes in his whole entire NFL career, so he needs to get them attempts up, and most likely to teammates of his team and not the other. But yeah,
okay.
but even more interesting, Glenn, the game I want to see is Minnesota and Philly, and I'm gonna let Brian start with that. That's gonna be the game Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird that they got the quote unquote game of the week on Fox, and then they go immediately over to a Monday Night Football game. And Philly's favored by 2, but only at home, which usually comes with a line of 3 at better. The over under is 50.5. So what they're basically saying is don't count on defense to do this. I would really like to be able to say that the Vikings are going to be able to win this game, but they're going to have to figure out a way to score touchdowns in the second half. And that's not easy in Philly. It's not because Philly's a great defensive team or anything like that, but it's just a hard place to go in and play great football. If I have to pick it, I'm going to pick the Vikings, but I don't pick it confidently. I do think that they're going to have to get Thielen involved a lot more. Jefferson is so good, and they'll be able to rely on him all season. And Cook is healthy, and you're going to be able to rely on him all weekend, all season. But they're going to have to find Thielen as that third guy to really be able to throw off a team. I do think that the Vikings ultimately win this game, but I'm not picking it with like bravado and confidence.
Yeah, I like this game because of the contrast of styles. You got Minnesota. Minnesota to me this year is the Brandon Roy of the NFL. Brandon Roy wasn't great in anything, but he was good in a lot of things. And that's what I think Minnesota is. I don't think they're great in any one particular thing, but they're good in a lot of things. And I think in this game, they're going to have to pass the ball because I think Philly's defense is just too damn stingy running the ball. Philly only runs. They ran for 215 yards last year against Detroit. And I told you last week, their quarterback is a bodybuilder. So Minnesota really has to focus on stopping the run with Philly. If they stop the run with Philly, because that's how they lost all their games last year. Teams stopped their run and forced them to keep passing. So Minnesota does that, they'll have a shot. If I had to pick a game, gun to my head, I'm picking Philly, and only because number one, they're at home, and number two, I'm not sure if there's continuity with Philadelphia. Minnesota's still trying to figure it out. So I think that might be an advantage for Philly, especially being at home with that crowd. And Kirk Cousins, I think if Minnesota wins, it has to be a Kirk Cousins game. I really think he's going to have to find the receivers and make some plays, and not just with Justin Jefferson, but like Brian said, with the other receivers as well. But I'm not placing a bet on this game. It's going to be fun to watch. But like I said, if I had to, be Philly.
And historically, this is the game that Kirk Cousins loses.
Yeah,
it's a primetime game, right? It's a Monday Night Football game.
All eyes on them
against a winning team. They're 1-0. This is the.
Oh damn, Brian just cut out.
Lost him. All
I
right.
guess
We'll see
I
if he
guess
jumps
nobody
back.
likes his analysis.
Yeah, the internet dropped him out. All right, we'll see. He'll pop back in, I'm sure.
That's
So
all good. We can still talk though.
yeah, sliding to so us Raiders and Cardinals, man. I don't know. I
Hey,
think
check this out, Glenn. Have you looked at the point spread? I haven't looked at any point spreads yet. Don't tell me what it is. Do you see it on your phone or on your
nah.
screen?
I'm on the NFL site right now.
Does it have the
Uh,
point spreads there?
nah, they don't put it on the site
Oh,
here.
okay. All right. Just go ahead. Go ahead and talk about that. Okay.
You got me curious though, but I don't know, man. I think we got to figure it out,
Wait,
right?
who do you play again?
The Cardinals.
Oh, where at?
So we're playing the Cardinals in Las Vegas.
I would say that point spread. If I had to make a spread, I would say, see if I have 1 point off. I would probably say Raiders
2.5,
minus 4. It's two and a
4.
half.
No. I
I
was
would
one. I
say
was just
Raiders
gonna say.
minus 4. I'm about to look it up right now. I would say
Yeah,
Raiders
you got
minus
me curious too.
because I like to guess what the spreads are before I see the games, and then what I do is hold on. What I do is if I think it's off, then I might bet it. What is it? It's 5.5. So yeah,
It's
point and a
close.
half off. Yep,
But
that's what I say.
so I mean, I think right now with the way the Cardinals look last week, right, that's gonna have people kind of doubting them. I don't think they're that terrible. I don't think the Raiders walk over them. Like we're gonna have to play, but I think this is a good second game for us because it's a winnable game against a team that some people are, picking to be. I mean, they were right there in the playoffs last year. They had D Hop, without JJ Watt. A lot of them guys, it's gonna be difficult. We're gonna need to stop the run and because I don't know if James Conner is going to be held to another, 20 something yards and then stay in front of Kyler Murray. I think our pass rush, what I saw from the defense was a solid pass rush. They were relentless and we had stops, but we couldn't. It was typical where we couldn't get the stop sometimes when we needed it. But in the
Yep.
beginning of that game, they were swarming and it looked good. So if we can capitalize on some of that, I don't know that the Cardinals pass rush is, like the Chargers is going to be. So if Carr has some time, kind of cools out, and they can figure themselves out within the offense, spread the ball around. I mean, he was trying, right? Even in the 3 picks, he threw one towards Devontae, one towards Darren Waller, one towards Renfro. But move the ball around, be patient, run the ball with Jacobs. I just think we have a better team and we should win this game.
Yeah. What I noticed against Arizona when they play Kansas City, if you spread the ball around against Arizona, you can beat them. They don't
Yeah,
have a,
that's
a
what KC do.
world-beating pass rush. Derek Carr can spread when Derek Carr has time, he can spread the ball around. I fully expect the Raiders to win this game, man. Playing in Vegas is no joke, man. Arizona has question marks, man. They got
Yeah.
a quarterback who obviously has bad practice habits and probably playing video games right now
Oh,
as we speak. He probably ain't looking at no film. So Josh McDaniels, man, he's trying to prove heck of bad that he's an NFL head coach. So he's grinding, working with Derek Carr, you know what I'm saying, trying to get an offensive game plan together. So I fully expect the Raiders to be 1-1. Like I said, the Raiders are not a bad team. They got two issues, yes, secondary and offensive line, but they're not a bad team. But judging by the way KC was playing, Derek Carr is gonna have a little bit of time and able to get some quick passes out. I like to see Darren Waller take advantage of this that
yeah,
secondary as
for
well. Darren
sure.
Waller, I think this is a Darren Waller game. Everybody knows about Devontae, but you got to get those possession catches with Renfro, and you got to get Darren Waller involved in this game. So I expect Derek Carr to pass for a good 300, and
I hope
the
so.
Cardinals to be exposed this game for real. Oh, B, you back on? We were just giving analysis about the
Raiders
Raiders
and
and
Cardinals
Arizona. What you think about that game? Is the point spread is 5.5. Raiders
Raiders
at home.
at home. Yeah.
So I missed all of that. Jason, who did you take in the Raiders game?
We both took the
Yeah,
Raiders.
we both took the Raiders. I took the Raiders because I just think Derek Carr will be able to spread the ball around against the Arizona defense. I don't think their pass rush is something to write about. The way I saw Mahomes spread around, I think this is a Darren Waller game. I said Josh McDaniels wants to prove he's a head coach, so I know he's
Cool.
They worked
grinding.
together too. Him and Kingsbury worked together in the
Oh,
Patriots
really?
game.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
like the Raiders in this game as well. Sorry, I lost y'all for a moment. Hotel Wi-Fi. But anyways, I like the Raiders in this game as well. I think that they're going to be able to put it all together. I like you, Jason. Don't think that Arizona is as good as people want them to be. And ultimately, I think that's going to work out for the Raiders to be able to push it forward. I also think Darren Waller looks like a guy who just got a lot of money, and he's
Yeah.
playing. He played really well. Surprisingly, today I was reading a little bit about how his contract is formed. He did not get as much money as most other people did. He got a lot of guaranteed money up front.
Yeah.
He just
Sixth
turned,
highest.
yeah. But when those years, the last 3 years, when he gets almost nothing guaranteed. So he's playing with house money right now, but ultimately he doesn't get as much as probably he deserves. But he's a little older, I guess, than others. So, anyways, I would take the Raiders in this game.
Yeah, so we got that. So any other games you guys are I mean, obviously, everyone's playing in the league. Anything else that you're particularly interested in watching? And
What about you, B? What you like?
Yeah, I mean, look, this week I think the best game, well, one of the more interesting games in the morning is going to be the Bucs Saints.
Wait. Before you go, Brian,
Yep.
I haven't looked at any spreads. Where are they playing at? Don't tell me the spread, though.
They're playing the Saints. They're playing, in New Orleans.
Okay, so I'm saying Tampa Bay -4. What is it?
-2.5. And
Okay, so
I
I'm
would take
a point and a half off. Okay.
Yeah, and I would take the Bucs. Now, history is not on our side. Yours and mine,
No.
Jason.
Mhm.
History suggests that the only time that the Bucs are going to beat the Saints is in the playoffs, not in the regular season. So there's that. But I do think that the Bucs are just a better team going against a team that's trying to figure out what they're trying to do. And I like the Bucs in that game.
So if Sean Payton was the coach, I would really, really like the Saints. But Dennis Allen is the coach, so I just kind of like the Saints.
That's fair.
And the reason why I'm liking the Saints is because I think they'll be able to expose Tampa Bay's offensive line like they did the previous 2 years, and now it's worse than it was the previous 2 years. And the strength of the New Orleans Saints is the defensive line, well, really that front seven. So I'm going to take the Saints again at home, strictly on that. Now, if they lose, it wouldn't surprise me, but I'll have the Saints winning by like 3 or 4 points this game.
What
Okay.
about the Bills Titans, right? So there's 2 Monday Night Football games
Yep.
this week, which is a weird situation.
Bills Titans are playing Monday night.
Yeah.
They're
Where
also
at?
playing with the Vikings Eagles.
Where? Bills.
Bills.
Okay. They're playing in Buffalo. Hold on, don't tell me. Buffalo -9.
Buffalo -10. You're close.
10.
That
Okay,
was
so
my
one
guess,
off.
yeah.
Okay. All right, I should be odds maker. Been 1.5 points off. But so I'm gonna take the Bills because I just don't like Tennessee. I don't.
I respect that.
I don't like Tennessee, man. The Bills, they're one of those teams. I think they're gonna be like this year's Arizona, where they peak early, where they're coming out the gate and they're coming fast and just mopping people. They're ready, they're motivated, and I think that's what the Bills are gonna do to Tennessee. I don't like Tannehill on the road. I mean, yeah, Derrick Henry can only do so much. Eventually, you're going to have to pass the ball because Buffalo is going to score points. They're going to just line up and just pass. And Tennessee got lit up by Daniel Jones in the second half, and that's never a good thing. So I'm taking the Bills and the Bills to cover. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I'm on record saying I think the Buffalo Bills are the best team in football right now. So giving them, saying that they're going to win by a significant margin is not a surprise to me. I don't think that the Titans are as bad as you think they are, but I also don't think that they're as good as they need to be able to win these types of games. And then you just can't beat the Buffalo Bills by Derrick Henry running for 120 yards. And that's a good result, right? Derrick Henry goes out and rushes for 120 yards. If that were to happen, I would still say that the Bills are going to be able to win because they're going to have to play a slow it down, grind it out game and for the Titans, and the Bills are going to be able to play an up tempo, chuck it, and see what happens next type of game.
Now, Brian, you do know the Titans gave up 160 plus rushing yards to Saquon Barkley, and they lost off a 2-point conversion, right?
Yeah,
That was
but I
to the
also think
Giants.
that, and just in watching Saquon play last week, which I was paying a lot of attention to, he looked really damn good. He definitely looked like the player we thought he was a few years ago. So it's hard to say whether or not it's the defense or Saquon looking good. I'll leave that for a few weeks from now to try and decide. But I will say that I don't think the Tennessee Titans can match the firepower of the Buffalo Bills.
Yep. And one more thing, Glenn.
But,
Brian Dave. Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
The only thing I was going to say is the Buffalo Bills need to figure out if they have a rushing offense at all.
Yeah.
You can't have Josh Allen be your top running back week in and week out.
No.
And you got to figure out what you're going to do at running back, and whether that's James Cook or any one of these other gentlemen. You got to figure it out, and it can't be Josh Allen.
Yeah, that's what I said last week. Their running game is still, but Brian Dable's now the coach of the Giants, who beat Tennessee, and he was offensive coordinator last year at Buffalo. So I imagine they were watching what Brian Dable was
Oh
doing
yeah,
and
absolutely.
probably do the same thing, and start from the first half though. But yeah, that's a
But
blowout.
talent, there's talent there. It's
Yeah,
just not enough.
right.
Biggest game for me, and then we'll get up out of here, is Chargers Chiefs, man, tomorrow night. That's what I'm most curious to see. AFC West,
Of
obviously, but
course you
those
are.
are, well, I mean, it's two top teams, right? Two teams that people are putting to be, um, depending on who you ask, you know, for in the playoffs, winning division at least. I think that's a good matchup this early in the season to kind of see, after both winning one game, to see who does what. So I'll definitely be curious to see that, see how Herbert looks against the Chiefs, see how Mahomes looks against that pass rush and that secondary. Very excited to watch that game tomorrow night.
Jason,
Yeah.
who you got?
Where's the game at?
Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Kansas City -3. You say two,
4.
2.5, 4? It's 4.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Damn, that's gonna. I'm gonna go. So I think this game comes down to if the Chargers can get pressure on Mahomes. If they
Definitely.
can't, it's over. It's and plus I don't think Keenan Allen's not playing.
No,
So
he's not. He's out.
Chargers are gonna be handicapped. So I'm gonna go ahead and take KC on this one. I think the game plan without Tyreek is now different, and the Chargers don't have enough film. All they got is one game to go by. So I
Hmm.
think this is a game they have circled on the calendar. They knew they played Arizona and had to play Thursday against the Chargers. So I'm going to take KC due to unpredictability. With Tyreek gone, the offense is obviously different, and then also Keenan Allen is gone, and maybe Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack can try to keep it close. But I'm gonna take KC at home, but slightly. I'm gonna take them at home by. You know what? That line is suggesting you should take the Chargers, so I'm gonna take KC to cover the spread.
Yeah, well, I think that line suggests that Keenan Allen is as good as we think he might be. I'll take the Chiefs as well. It's not because I don't think the Chargers are a very good team, but I do think that they have a big gap without having Keenan Allen, and you need that kind of a guy in the lineup when you're going to play someone with the kind of firepower the Chiefs has. And when I mean the firepower that Chiefs has, I mean Patrick Mahomes. 360 yards and 5 touchdowns. I think. Patrick Mahomes is on one of those you forgot me seasons, and he's out there trying to prove everyone wrong. I think he gets an opportunity to do it, and I think they probably win by a touchdown or more. So I'll absolutely take Kansas City.
Yeah.
Solid word, man.
Make a pick, Glenn. You didn't make a pick. Who you got?
It's honestly,
I
I
know you
probably would
hate
take
both
the.
teams. I
Honestly,
know
if
you're hoping
based
for a
on the
tie.
spread, I would actually probably take the Chargers because
Okay.
I think if they lose, it's going to be by 3. I
Okay.
think it's going to
There you
be one
go.
of those games where it comes down to the end, and a kick comes into it because it could be very well could also be high scoring. So them going back and forth. So I think the Chargers have enough even without Allen, with Eckler, with DeAndre Carter if he's getting catches, Mike Williams with Everett. They got enough to do something, and their defense is solid enough to slow the Chiefs down. And I think they have a chance. So I probably would take the Chargers.
All right.
Yeah,
Cool.
and my point of view is just Allen is enough of a difference maker to take that from a Chargers being able to keep up and win to Chargers losing.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're fair. All right, guys. Well, that's a good show, man. Always a pleasure doing it with you guys. Minute to win it to me. I succeed my time to y'all, man. I just was happy to be out there with you guys this last week and enjoy some time with the family.
Yeah, man. Same here. Yeah, man. It was lovely. Brian, the kids, everybody, man. It was just great. Glenn, GB being out there, loved it. Relaxing as
Hey, mom, Phil.
always.
Yeah.
Ate good food. I mean, it was all good. And just to let both of y'all know, Miami plays Texas A&M on Saturday. So go ahead and watch that game. Get the
Oh, I
ratings
will
up.
actually. I'm invested now.
Hurricanes.
So I got two things to say. The first is for those of you who didn't know, we played a lot of Monopoly this weekend, and this was the victor right here.
This guy.
So let's put that out there. The other thing is hats off to Deion Sanders for being the one who came out and said that the HBCUs are getting paid too little to take these drubbings playing against these large establishment teams, and saying and letting the rest of the HBCU and nation know that they should expect and ask for more money to be part of these games. You should be able to pay for the vast majority of your program from going and almost always having to travel into their house to
Hmm.
take these L's. So anyways, I like what he did there. I think that that's important. I think that more people should look at what he's doing. I think Deion Sanders has become a great voice, not just for college football and HBCU football, but for student athletes and valuing their time.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Word
yeah,
up,
I
man.
definitely agree with Deion Sanders. He said ask for $1 million. I'm like, I
$1 million
feel you.
or more. All these
Ask.
other guys are getting it.
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to say? No.
Right. Right. That's right.
And
Agreed.
the HBCUs are attracting a crowd on their own now, which
Yeah.
is new. Jackson State gets people turning the channel. We all tried to do it, couldn't accomplish it, but we tried to do it, and that has value.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well said, man. That's Sports Counterpoints. Is September 14th, 2022. Appreciate you all for listening. We'll check you out later. Thanks.